Yevamos Daf Kuf Tes Zayin. And all the learning should bring in incredible schashel for Salchaim the Barat Armsi for Sarach Shalom the Bizav of Intelligent and Chaya. Blum Yudis Bas Sima Malka as well as for Shem Shal Yus and Vedish Shmon Tilan and Sim Khlas Chama Asiva. Sar Blum as Nil Chaim Yishuv Malka Shafiq Shechana Chavle was Sardina. Besai Shar Chayli Yisrael. Only the very top of Daf Kuf Tes Zayin. In the Aleph. We're in the middle of a discussion at how concerned do we have to be that when we find a document that maybe there's another person with the exact same name. And on the top of this Amud, we spoke about that according to Abaya, what concern is there? We're talking about a case of a shtar in Mechuzah. And Abaya on the top few lines taught us that if we're really nervous that the lender lost the document and the person holding it found it, Mr. Zayir, of course the lender is going to be careful. And therefore, if he has it, avad, it's a real document. And he'll be kadon. If you're maybe concerned that maybe the lender gave it away as a bikadon, he would never give it away as a bikadon to the same person as that name. So now says the Gemara, Ahu Gita, 4 lines from the top, a very similar story. There was a get. Tishtakach besura v'kasev be'achi, and the get said as follows: Besura masai non. It says that Besura Masa, the city of Surah, Anan Barchia, Anan Barchia, min Ardai of Nardai, Petris v'tarchis, I've released and divorced Poloines, such and such wife, in Tisi, my wife. Ubadku Rabbanan Miserv and Ardan, the Rabbanan looked into it and they checked from Surah all to it in Ardav, Lavi, Anan Barchia, Chrina, and they did not find another Anan Barchia, Lebar me Anan Barchia mechagra. Aside for Anan Barchia who came from Chagra, David ben Ardai, who is currently in Ardai, Vasa Sadi Va'amra, and witnesses came and said, Ta'u Yaima Ki Echtev Avu Gita Anan Barchia Mechagra Gavanho. On the day that the get was written in Surah, what happened? This person Anan Barchia from Chagra was with us in Ardai. So he certainly was not in Surah when the get was written. Says Abai, in this case, even I am not concerned. Why? Look, Amri Sadi ibn Ardai Havai, because the witnesses said that indeed Anan Barchia was in Ardai, and the get is being written in Surah. My Ba'i Surah. How could it be that he was in Surah if the Eidim said he was in Ardai? So that in this case, Abai agrees that there is an Amanis. And Amar Rava says, Rava afli didi deloy chayshinon. No, says Rava. Even I that say we're not concerned for a second person with the same name. Ha cha chayshinon. The exact opposite. Why? Delma begamla parcha azel. You know why? Because how could it be if he's in the wrong place? No. He went with a flying camel, literally, which just means he went very, very fast. The fact from Surah Ardai, he was in the same day, is not necessarily a rai. Inami Bikfitza, he jumped, Inami Mili, Masar, or maybe he gave over his authorization, he allowed the power of attorney to someone else. And that's the reason why I was able to have a get, even when he was not there. And a precedent for such an idea, because Amrlu Rav Safra, like Rav Ted to Safrei, to his scribes, V'chen Amrlu Rav Huna l'Safri, Kintichu b'shili k'suva, Kintichu b'shili, when you're in Shili and you're writing up Shtara, it's k'suva b'shili, write in Shili. That Aval Gav Dem Esrin Amili Bihini, even though the document was started to be written in Hini, still b'chikas naichu b'hini kasuvu b'hini. When you're in Hini, write Hini. I've got the Mesrin Mila b'shili. So wherever they told you is not relevant. It's where the document is written. That is what you should write inside the shtar. Concludes the Gemara. Maya ve'Allah. What is the machlekes with the what is the psak halacha with the machlekes of Chisda and Rava? Desham Shemi. That we are indeed concerned that maybe it is a different barrel in the case of the sesame seeds, in which he claimed that these are not the ones that you deposited by me, they're different ones. So that is indeed the psak halacha that we are concerned for such a claim. Continues the Gemara, according to Mishnah, the Mishnah had another scenario that was similar to a war, similar in the fact that the Iracha, the woman, is not going to be believed, is when there's fighting between husband and wife. Because then again, we're nervous that when the wife says, oh, I saw my husband die, maybe she didn't really see him. Just right now, they're in the middle of a fight. That's why she said that. Asks the Gemara on the third by line, how can it be It's not really a question. Not how can it be fighting between husband and wife. The Gemara is asking, what is the fight between husband and wife? Amar Avudim or Shmuel by Meres Labaila Gershini. Talking about a case where she told her husband, I want a divorce. Responds the Gemara, a startling statement, Kulunami Amri Achi. All women say that, says the Gemara. They say when they're angry, I want a divorce. They don't mean it. That's a bit extreme. She said, my husband already divorced me. Says the Gemara, 1 second. But Lahamna, may the Rav Amnuna. So why don't we believe her that her husband divorced her from the statement of Rav Amnuna? Rav Amnuna, 4 lines on the bottom. Isha Shamar Labayla Gershani Nemanis. Why? Chazak and Isha Meizabanel. B'nei Bayla, a woman would never be so brazen in front of her husband to claim that he divorced her if it wasn't actually true. So says the Gemara, wait, if she said he divorced me, she should actually be believed. Says Gemara, you know why not? But Meres Kirshtani b'fnei plani b'loini. She said, I was divorced in front of these two people, v'shalinu, and the Bezdin asked those two guys, v'amr lo yadam, lo yadvar ma'ilim, it never occurred. So my taima diktata asked the Gemara, what is the reason that the woman is not believed when there is this discord, when there is this fight between husband and wife? 2 reasons, says Rav Chisda, because she's going to lie, because she's fighting. Says Rav Simi Rashi, no, she's going to think the husband died, even when it's not true. Now you ask the Gemara, what's the practical difference in these two cases as we turn over to Kofta Zainum base? If unfortunately they fight all the time, then, incorrect. The argel hu b'kitata, not that they fight all the time. When he, the husband, was the instigator in this case, and then she comes along and said that he had divorced her. So since he's the one that started the story, therefore we don't necessarily have to assume that she hated him, therefore she would be believed. Ibailu asked the Gemara similar Shaila, as we're holding out Kuf Tezayim base, Hirachad b'kitata mahu. We're talking now about a woman's level of belief when there's a war or when there's a fight between husband and wife. And we said there's no belief when there's a fight between husband and wife. But ask the Gemara, what about an Eid Echad? We know an Eid Echad is believed. By Milcham is not believed. What about an Eid Echad by Kitata by a fight? Explains the Gemara the Shaila. My time of Eid Echad Muhammad. Why is an Eid Echad normally believed? Mishad the Milchad an Echad will never lie saying a guy is dead if he can prove him to be a liar when the husband walks into Besdin. Oh, you tell me, you know what an Echad is believed? Time of the Echad Mehamin Mishom, Tihi Deikam and Asba, because she, the wife, will not get remarried without looking into it. That's why. Like we saw yesterday by the Malchama, Kim de Islay Kitata, Lodaikum and Asya, Teku, says the Gemara. So the Gemara concludes that it's unclear as to the precise reason of the Namanas by the Eid Echad, and therefore we're not sure whether there will be Namanas when there is fight between husband and wife. Continues the Gemara, quoting the Mishnah 8 lines down, she is never believed unless she comes in with the Torah clothes ripped and looking disheveled like a mourner. Says the Gemara, Tanya Amr Rav Yehuda. They said to Rav Yehuda, Lidvarecha, according to you, that she's only believed if she looks like a mourner. Says the Gemara, if this woman is a shaita, she'll never be allowed to get remarried. Why not? Because she always looks a bit disheveled. Then if the whole reason you're believed according to Rav Yehuda is when you walk into Bezin in that state, so in this case, shaita will not be believed. Says the Chacham, and both of them, they have a believability. The Gemara here concludes, to Rav Yehuda, Amru Le, Safti Bailech, Kara Manich, Sisri Mazayich. They said to Rav Yehuda, you know what happened? You should cry over your husband. Someone came into Bezdin to give testimony about his wife. So some of the Rabbanan who were there told the person, rip your clothing and show signs of mourning. Alfuah Shikra. Says the Gemara, Alfuah Shikra. Are they showing and telling this woman to lie? They're seemingly telling her, play shtick. We want you to dress up the part. What do you mean? Answers the Gemara, Enu ki Rabbanan Svirlu. Those Rabbanan really held like the Rabbanan, that the woman is believed whether she looks disheveled and ripped off clothing or not. But Amri, they said, they said, that's what we believe. But you should do it so Rav Yehuda himself will be makel with you. A Gishmaka story. Says the Gemara, elaborating on a Gemara that we saw 2 days ago. Says Rav Yehuda, there's only a Messiah that a woman could give testimony that her husband died and she'll be able to remarry. If what? If she comes with a grain harvest and she's in the same country. Like a story that occurred that we'll see in a few moments in the Gemara. No. Says Beishamai, I don't care where they're coming from. Are picking. Why did the Chazal speak about such a case if it wasn't precise? And Chazal Beisel folded like Beishamai. So says the Gemara, 10 lines from the wide lines. Tanya, we learned in a Brayso, Amru Lahem Beisham the Beisel. We're going to first elaborate a little more on the Machlekes Beisham and Beisel, and then we're going to go into what exactly was the Ma'aseh Shaya. So Beishamai said to Beisel, Dvarechem, according to you, Ein li el ksir chitim, ksir za'irim minayin. Says Beishamai to Beisel, it's only if it's during the ksir chitim of the wheat, and not if it's during the barley. Ve'ein li el kaitzer, and it's only if they're harvesting baitzer, moisei goider, oider minayin. How do we know if they're picking dates, gathering figs? The same halacha applies. Elo! That was the story. So what happens is Beishamai proves, you know why I fundamentally disagree with you, Beis Hillel. There were so many stories that there was a believability, so too over here. Beis Hillel, so what does Beis Hillel answer? Say Beis Hillel, no. When there are other people who know what's going on, therefore they're afraid to lie. Therefore, the Beis Shammai is more concerned that they're going to lie. Beis Hillel, excuse me. That says Beis Shammai, no. Who cares that they're not so close? There's caravans, they go back and forth, and therefore everyone knows what's going on. And certainly nowadays, my Ma'aseh Shaya. So after we elaborate and explain what the Machlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel is, now it comes to the Gemara and says, what was the story? Tell me a story. It was the wheat harvest. It was this. What exactly was the story? Now finally the Gemara explains in the second wide line, it was the end of the wheat harvest. And 10 people came to cut wheat. And a snake bit one of them, and he died. And what happened? His wife came and told Bezdin that her husband died. And they sent the people to look into that she was telling the truth. In relation to the story that we saw that the woman had such a high level of believability, that's why they said that that we do believe, and so too says the Gemara. Let's try to figure out this machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Is there a precedent? Name Rav Chanani ben Akiva Rabbanan belong to Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Says the Gemara, maybe Rav Chanani ben Akiva and Rabbanan are having the same machlokes. Come if the Tani learns in a Brayso 7 lines into the wide line. Person cannot carry and transport the ashes of the para aduma, the efer chatos, over the yardin. Ubisfin over the boat. You can throw over the ashes. And you can float them on the water. You can transport them via an animal. Nor by your friend. That if you're sitting on your friend's shoulders, you also can't carry these ashes. LMK, no, your raglov, no, you bekarka, unless your legs are touching the ground. Elamavir, no, gesher, echad yardin vechad shar nahares, but rather you should bring it over the bridge, whether it's the Yardin or other rivers. Chanani ben Akiva Aimer lo yamru eli Yardin usfino kumaisa shaya. So lema Rabbanan dam kibesher Chanani ben Akiva dam kibesel. So it sounds like the Rabbanan are being more precise, more direct in their din, just like Beis Shammai. Whereas Chanani ben Akiva saying like Rabbi Beisel that there's all these gezeros. Says Rabbanan, no, we really go with these Beisel. Because they're afraid. But if they go far out, then they're not believed. Says the Gemara, I don't understand what's the difference in which river it was. And we've seen many times. What's the reason? Because the woman looks into the story before she remarries. Here it is. It was a special story that happened on the Yardin and a boat. The gezeir they made was only in the scenario that it happened. My Maisa Shayudam Rav Yudam Rav Maisa Badam Echad Badam Shayab Ma'avir Mechatas Vivachatas Biyardin. Person was transporting the ashes. Ubisfina Menim Zekazais When Amaz Dacha Bekarkoi Shal Sfina Rachmana Litzlan. They have these ashes of the Bara Aduma. You know what they find stuck onto the boat? A piece of a dead body, a corpse, making everything tamei. So very interesting Gemara. The fact that we're making a decree in a very specific and precise scenario within the case that Dafka in this case there was a bad story, so we made a gzeira about that case. We'll pick up from the Mishnah.